Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 47 of the Reptile Rejects podcast. Tonight we got on Connor Wardle of the Naturalist Herps. Is that how you want to call yourself?
hmm
Awesome. Well, how are you doing today, Connor?
Pretty good. Pretty good. No complaints. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It was snowing here earlier because I live in southern Alberta, so apparently it's known that you can still get snow on May long weekend for us Canadians, and well, it snowed. on Earlier this week, we're like, oh, it's going to be like 30 degrees and whatnot Celsius, so that's like 85 Fahrenheit. So we were like, oh, it's going to be a nice hot weekend. No, it started looking cooler, and then we started getting rain the last couple days. Had a lightning storm yesterday, and then woke up to looking out the window, and is that white on the roof on the house across the street? No. But
Fun
it's
time,
it's
dude.
almost all gone now, so that's good. We caught our buddies were down. Actually, our sponsor was down from Calgary, and we took him and his kids out looking for snakes, and we did find one bull snake. Although stuff's already started moving away from the den, so it's getting a little tougher. But then it should be actually easier in the next couple weeks when stuff starts kind of moving on the regular. So yeah, and then hopefully try for hognose and horn lizards later into the year. There's some spots like driving a couple hours south to some nice prairie habitat. I got to check out more of the provincial parks too, because there's Dinosaur Provincial Park. That's like an hour and a bit away north, and then there's Writing on Stone. That's probably a couple hours away in the middle of nowhere. Where that's another like good prairie provincial park. So yeah, yeah, no, and then I'd have to go to Grasslands National Park at some point, which is in southern Saskatchewan. I think that must be like 3 4 hours away. But yeah, no, there's tons of cool stuff out here, even though it's the prairies. Yeah, I guess I'll get our sponsorship out of the way, and then we can get to asking Connor some questions that I'm sure we're all wanting to hear. Alrighty. Reptile Rejects is sponsored by Cornell's World. Cornell's World is one of the leaders in reptile caging in North America. Greg at Cornell's World makes custom PVC cages, custom glass terrariums, custom racks. He has his general sizes, and obviously he can go custom into it. Then he can do heat panels from ReptiRad, Vivarium Electronics. He can get heat tape, Spider Robotics equipment, all your Herpstat needs, Miss Kings, anything Arcadia, Zoomit, Exoterra. It's a one-stop shop online. Order at cornellsworld.com and go follow them on social media at Cornell's World. Also, check out wcre.ca. The Western Canadian Reptile Expo is one of the biggest reptile expos in Western Canada. They put on 3 shows a year, two in Calgary and one in Medicine Hat. The Medicine Hat show is coming up, I think, the second to last weekend of June. So check out wcre.ca to pre-book your tickets, and that should be a fun little show out here. And then obviously the big August Calgary show will be coming up in, I think it's the same weekend as Daytona, so that like third weekend of August. That'll be another fun time. Be lots of enters. It's in a huge venue, so if you haven't booked your tickets yet, you should, and get your VIP passes so you can get in there an hour early and take advantage of some of those VIP deals. Along with if there's any tables left, which I'm not even sure if there probably is a couple tables or booths left. Go book your tables now, and yeah, it'll be a great weekend, and hope to see people there. It was cool seeing people at the spring show, so yeah, obviously go follow them on all their social media as well. Awesome. Alrighty, Connor. So how's it going today in terms of? You said you were showing somebody around your collection. I know you're you're in scouting, and I actually grew up in scouting as well. How fun do you have when you get to show the youth on all the stuff that we like?
It's a lot of fun, yeah. And it's cool because it's like the next generation. I feel weird saying that because I'm only 23, but that's just, I guess, how it is. I've got a coworker that's kind of been looking more into reptiles, asking me questions about, various different lizards, and we found a snake at work the other day, so he's now on this kind of snake thing, and I'm like, well, let's come over. I know your kid's interested in it or showing some interest, let's kind of see how I do it here so you can kind of get an idea in your head, about like, hey, this is kind of how you need to do things in a smart and educated approach. So it's cool. I'm glad to be there as a resource, and hopefully, lead them in the right direction.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know, like when because I help my buddy vend shows and stuff, and when we got new keepers coming to the table, like I always hang out at his table because he has all the. We usually have all the cool different stuff that I like, but then we also carry like leopard geckos and corn snakes and a good selection to like stuff that beginners would really like. Although if they really seem into it, I try to push the stuff I like. Like, well, black milk snake would be a perfect beginner snake. Yeah, it's $400, but they're awesome. They don't bite. They'll do just fine, basically, however you set them up. So yeah, I always have fun, even at the shows. Like sometimes I probably over explain a little too much, but
Eh,
I find if they're in the right mindset, they actually seem to like it because they realize that you're really into it too, and that helps kind of sell the animal or make them kind of really think about what they're
yeah,
purchasing, right? Which is always good, which is what you want. Yeah, no, I find bending shows is kind of my way of almost doing that, and then I guess doing this podcast, even though I don't think we have too many Utes watching. But yeah, no, it's fun because yeah, I'm 24, so I'm only like a year older than you. So yeah, no, it's always good being that like next generation because I think there is like a few of us coming up, right? Like because Kush is a little bit older than me. Lucas is I think a couple years older, and then you got Summer, who's I'm not sure, probably around our age too. And there's a couple other people, but it seems like there probably should be more. But I guess they'll start coming out of the woodwork eventually because there's a
yeah,
bunch
for
of
sure.
people in COVID, right? I remember I was just out of high school when COVID hit, so that was like one of those. Like I'm sure there's a lot of people that maybe just got into keeping reptiles then that are still just kind of the people that have one or two, and maybe that'll shift into them keeping more kind of thing. Not that you have to, right? Like there's always
Right.
the parts of me that are like, well, if I ever had to slim down to only a couple things, I would still keep a couple cool things, right? So yeah, yeah, no, it's always fun to think about how the hobby is moving forward. But do you
For
want to
sure.
give like
Yeah.
a kind of a summary of how you fit into herpetoculture? Obviously, you were on Joe's podcast recently, and I've heard you on THP a bit, and you were on Colubrid and Colubrid as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been on a couple. Um, they're always fun. It's great to get some exposure out for the species that I work with. I would say I'm not as much all over the board, as I used to be. I would say I kind of tend to focus or be more drawn to, I'm just going to say, colubrids or reptiles of the American Southwest. Now, that's a very broad category, but within that, I really have a focus on Mascophus and Hypsiglena. So Mascophus is your racers and whip snakes, North American species there. Your Hypsiglena, it's going to be all your night snakes, some smaller, kind of pint size, dipsadded, species there. Obviously, have some kind of odds and ends outside of that. Dabbling in a couple rat snakes, kind of getting back to my roots as to whenever I first started. And I've got a couple cool lizard projects that just right time, right place, and it worked with my general room conditions. So kind of not looking to grow too crazy into those, but just some nostalgic species from, either my early days starting or just that I saw in a magazine whenever I was like super young, or even I'm keeping the rock lizards because I saw them on Cornell's World whenever I was a kid, back in the day. I
Oh
guess
yeah,
your sponsor there. So
yeah.
anyway, I don't want to keep rambling on, but that's kind of my niche right now. Reptiles of the American Southwest, etc. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. So you got what for lizards? What do you got? So you got the
I got the
those.
Baja blue rock lizards. I've got a pair of Texas alligator lizards. Those are Garanotis infernalis there. And then I've got a Borneo earless monitor there. But that's it on the lizard front.
Very nice. So did you ever? Didn't you have you had a Gila and a monitor at one point, right? Too. Those just
Yeah,
weren't your
I had
vibe.
a Kimberly Rock monitor. I had a Gila monster. I've kept the Texas alligator lizards off and on. And actually, one of the first reptile species I bred were these. They're called little brown skinks,
Oh yeah.
Scalina laterus or something like that. With the Gila monster and the rock monitor, I had a car wreck about a year and a half ago now, and unfortunately, I had to move that with a couple other animals that were really special. But you have to fix the car, so I can drive and get to work and stuff. So it's unfortunate, but I building back up what I really need to focus on here. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, those Baja Blues have always been on my radar too because you see, like, even I think I'm not sure if anybody works with them up here right now, but I know I think Bion works with them, and they were on that list kind of thing. And Ashley kind of has them on her list occasionally to come over. It's like those are cool. Actually, even Scalopris kind of like some of those
yeah,
Scalopris kind of are like, those would be kind of neat to do one day. Like even not at like because they have, I believe most of them have live babies, so it's not even like they're actually pretty easy. Like I know you get the what is it, the green, the emerald swifts or whatever.
yeah,
Those
yeah.
things, like those things breed all the time when you bring them in, kind of thing. And those, like obviously, those are a bit more kind of tropical, but it'd be neat to breed some. Just like they're just neat little lizards, and honestly, people would have so much fun if they set up a 36 by 36 by 18 exo with like a small group of them, and did like a
Uh-huh.
whole like rock background that they could just climb up and down and bask, and you put a couple sage brushes or something, to give them a little bit of hiding. Like I think that would be like a fantastic display for a living room. I always like thinking of
Sure.
what would look cool in a display kind of thing that people haven't really thought about or done yet. And like those would be like Baja Blues. Like I think they're a little bigger than actual Scalopers, right? But like they're not huge
Yeah,
either.
they're more like between a collared lizard and a chuckwalla.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
not
so decent
huge. Yeah.
size. Yeah, not too big to effectively house. I'm probably gonna do like a 4x2x2 like that one there with like some kind of big universal rock boulders and stuff. Just I had a buddy that was in their habitat recently, and he sent me some drone footage from the area, and that was great. Resource for me. So I'll eventually, once my female's up to size, house them together in a little some sort of naturalistic display or whatnot. So
Oh
it'd
yeah,
be fun.
that'll be cool. Have you ever thought about doing collards? Because you just brought those up. Those are just cool too. They're like,
Yes, I horribly failed with leopard lizards,
mm,
which are kind of called lizard adjacent.
yeah,
um, I've seen people with collar lizards before. They're fun. I just kind of like something that I can hold if it's a lizard. These rock lizards I'm working on a little bit here. But the collar lizards when they just like, at least the ones that I was exposed to, they were all wild caught. But they just like grab you and they tear you up.
oh yeah,
On your hand here. So I'll pass. I don't know, but
yeah. There's
these are
some.
kind of a little bit more niche, and I got a thing for a blue lizard, so I know there's Dickersona and all that stuff too, but I think there's a little bit more room for these Baja lizards
Oh
in
yeah,
the U.S. kind of um, herpetoculture, I guess, field. So yeah,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know what it is about the desert Southwest. Like I love it too. That's why I got like my collection has Transpecos in it, and like I love West Texas, and I need to get down there at some point, kind of thing.
oh
Yeah,
for
and
sure,
then the
yeah,
lizards down there are so cool. Like Roy working with, or no, not Roy, Phil working with Chuck Wallace and that. Like those are like one that the Chuck Wallace and actually, yeah, I was thought about the leopard lizards too. Those things are neat. Obviously, they're not really captive bred. Like yours just didn't do well because they were probably all wild caught, right? Or was it just
I
like
had a wild
variety?
caught pair, and then I had a pair of captive bred animals there. And I don't know if it was just like a stress thing or exactly how the person I got them from was keeping them. I had them in glass tanks, and I think maybe more like blackout on the sides. Maybe they do better with stress that way. Um, and then they didn't seem to like hydrate very well. I know people pull collar lizards out and they'll soak them. I know every now and then, but I don't know. I had them for like a month and a half, and that was about it. It
Mm,
was pretty sad, honestly.
yeah.
But
that almost makes me think of the chameleon thing where Peter Neckis found out that they intake all their they kind of gain a ton of weight at night from just inhaling humidity or moisture.
Right.
So that like some desert stuff almost makes me think people should keep it like a mist king on them, because then you just like set it to go off. I don't know, like a you could do it like an hour before the lights turn on, but you could do it like kind of
Yeah.
middle of the night and just let that humidity kind of soak up, and even like it doesn't have to be on for too long, but like I don't know. I'm just there's that like other stuff that we don't really think about. Like I'm sure you've thought about it, but like where like how could we how like we were having this issue and we want to get somewhere, and like obviously we hear about people talking about wild animals, and it's
Yeah.
like making it that much kind of fitting in that nicely. Like even with like veils, it was like selling veils at the show. It's like, well, you could probably just miss them. Like they're from Yemen, so they're from like a drier place. Obviously, humidity there is up a touch, even though it is a desert. Like you go to apparently like you go
Uh-huh.
to Dubai and stuff, and like it's dry, but you can kind of feel that humidity coming off the ocean as well. So it's maybe
For sure.
that like kind of bit of both worlds where you just miss them in the morning, and if it's like if they're still not that hydrated, then miss them more, maybe get a miss king. But yeah, no, it's always
Right.
I always like thinking
And
about those other
also,
stuff.
yeah, with the leopard lizards as well, like they primarily eat other lizards in the wild too. So there's nothing that a cricket or grasshopper is going to compare to an endless amount of or even an anole. An anole versus a whiptail, or an anole versus a smaller leopard lizard or collared lizard or spiny or whatever. It's really tough to you know have that balance out.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's,
yeah, no,
anyway, lots of different things.
yeah. The anoles they just come with some extra passengers on board.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if these Bahama boas go, it's gonna be like, okay, I need to maybe somehow get some of that anole juice up here, or just freeze a bunch of anoles for a very long time and
Yeah.
throw them in the blender afterwards, kind of thing, and get that anole juice, make the anole juice myself, I guess. But yeah, no,
Hmm.
it'll be fun. 30 little baby fucking babies that don't want to eat anything. That'll be great.
Yeah.
My other, I don't know. I always find that like I want to keep something that, well, I guess I try to keep a bunch of stuff that's like kind of more niche, but those Bahamas are like I don't care about making money or anything with them. I just want to keep them going in the hobby as well as they can, kind of thing. Those will be,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah. Have you ever thought about doing any West Indian stuff? Because that kind of, I know like you like your oddball colubrids, but that almost seems like something you might. I could see you pivoting to even like Ford's boas or something eventually that are just a little different.
I don't know. I just want to have I don't know. I just want to have regular success with what I'm keeping first, and then maybe kind of go from there. Um, in my quarantine room, I do have a pair of Womas. They haven't posted them or anything like that, just because I'm gonna, it's my first time, dabbling with Aspidites, so I want to make sure that like they're officially settled in, doing well, and clean of everything. So I got them from a larger facility down south of me, so I'm just taking it slow with those guys and making sure they're really, really doing well.
Oh,
But
nice.
that'll be my first time, really keeping any snake for that matter out of the kind of colubrid realm there. So it's exciting. I don't really know much about them. I wouldn't say it's an impulse because it's that they can fit in well with my general room conditions here. It's almost just like keeping a larger king snake. I would say, or from what I've heard, I should say. Um, so excited for that. It's definitely going to be a nice way to grow as a keeper.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm excited for that. I've got this 6x2x2 behind me here that's just hanging out and waiting for him. So yeah,
Oh yeah. They'll enjoy that. Llamas are fun. I had one male that was probably like 19 or 18. I actually gave him to Ty to use to breed this year, and he went right to work, even though it was later in the season.
nice.
And that female looks pretty gravid too. I think his for some reason were going later because he had like 4 females and 1 male, and last year he didn't even hit on any of them because he was trying to cycle it through all of them, but he only cycled with 2, and then was going to leave the other 2. But then I just gave him the the one male I had, and he went right to work. Like they're fun. Like he's like a little older, so like he went from being like a little thin when I had him originally to, well, it's a womble
Mhm.
python, so they get back on track pretty quickly.
For
Um,
sure.
but then in the last couple of years, he's been like, nah, I only want chicks or quail. So it was just like, well, I guess this is what you want. So feed him a couple times a month just to make sure. But then he definitely like goes off food in the winter. Like he'll tell you. Like I find that with the subox too, where
Yeah,
you know it's breeding season when the males go off food, kind of thing.
for sure.
And now I'm
Yeah,
noticing that with the Bahamas as well, where like when they were in March, they weren't eating, or no, they were eating still, but they were breeding, and now like they're breeding almost daily the last like month, and all three males I have gone like, well, actually no, the one juvenile did eat, but yeah, no, the two bigger males haven't eaten in like a couple months because they're just like, yeah, it's breeding season, and the Kentuckys do that too, where like the male will go off food and then once they, I think once he does his job, I think they kind of switch to eating again
for
because
sure.
because if he refuses, you kind of know he's still wanting to breed. But if he starts taking food again, you're like, okay, so she probably took. But it's fun to, like, Phil was asking me how I bred him. It's like, well, the male will go off food, and that'll kind of be the time you probably want to be pairing them.
For
but
sure.
but who knows,
Yeah,
right? Like maybe his stuff works differently, and with it being Florida and the cycle being a little different, maybe they won't. But like you got the VPI and Dave and Tracy Barker who bred subox for years at ambient like corn snakes for just keeping them 80 degrees all year long, and they still bred just fine for them too. So maybe it's just consistency is almost more of it, and the when you do temperature drops and brumation, it definitely helps. But I guess if you just keep them consistent at the ambient from a neonate, they'll probably get used to it as well. And some other factors like barometric pressure change and stuff might be
for
the
sure.
what kind of helps them. But yeah, so
Yeah.
obviously like you got the Hypsigalena, and then you're doing some rat snake stuff now, and you got the Masticophis stuff. Kind of where like how are those all doing for you now, kind of thing? Because I know over the years you've had been kind of dabbling with a few different Masticophis species, and also you got your Telescopus. Those are freaking
Yeah,
cool too. But
for sure.
maybe if you want to talk a little bit about kind of how the Masticophis are going for you now, and kind of what your projects and that are kind of looking like.
For sure. Yeah, so I'm keeping, what is it? I got Western coach whips. I've got stripe racer, excuse me. I got two females. A striped whip snake. That's the Teniotis. The racers are Lateralus. Got a Ruthven's whip snake, and let me just make sure I'm not missing anybody else. Sonoran whip snake as well. That's the five species right now that I'm keeping. Unfortunately, due to just like state laws across the U.S., that especially as you get out west, you'll notice this. A lot of states have laws against selling native herps or collecting to trade or sell or buy or whatever uh, within those states. So my difficulty or the kind of issues that I've come across while trying to source some of these animals is finding people that are like willing to collect and gift me animals because nobody wants to go out in the desert, run around for an hour or like your full morning trying to catch these snakes that are just really tough to find or just get a hand on. A lot of times I'll flip them in the mornings and things like that. So it kind of leaves me in a position where um, I scroll fauna, king snake, whatever every morning. Morph market, I guess now for the hipsters out there. Um, but yeah, just looking for individual animals that pop up. Um, Obviously, where they're legal to purchase, I'll purchase those. If not, I'm hoping for people to gift them to me, or I just spend time in habitat and try and collect some. So to answer your question, really, and give you not the runaround, um, within Mascophis, I've got a lot of individuals. My main interests, as far as producing within these snakes, are the striped racers. That's the Mascophis lateralis. Beautiful, beautiful looking snake. They don't get crazy big for a Mascophus. Most of them get 6. There's records of 7 foot for just in general coach whips, whip snakes, whatever. But these racers tend to be more around like the 5 to 5.5 foot range as adults, and I think that's realistically, a little bit bigger than a corn snake. And people could comfortably, take care of these animals and not have to have like a big 8x3x3 or whatever. It's going to be easier for when I do get to producing these for the average keeper to keep them, and I don't want to see them just thrown in a rack. Obviously nobody's going to do giant caging, or maybe there's going to be a fewer amount of keepers, to do that. So I'm trying to focus on really producing the animals that are going to do best in the hobby long term. Western coachwhips are great. They're great captives. I've got a pair of het albinos here that are it's a what would have been a tan, but it's a albino bred to a red phase adult female. I've got a pair of hets from that pairing that Ryu Lugosi produced down in San Antonio area there. So I've got those for nostalgic reasons because I raised that albino up and gifted it to her after seeing some solid production with her on that front. If they breed here, that's cool. It would be neat to produce an albino at some point, but I'm not really there chasing morphs. I'd like to have the kind of lineage here on those. And Ryu's doing great producing Western coach whips reliably year to year. So I don't really feel like I want to add to the saturation of that market here in the States because they're not for everybody. So focusing on the stripe racers here. And then I just think the colors on the Sonorans and Ruthvens whip snakes are incredible. If you can Google those, the Ruthvens whip snake is Mascophus shot-eye Ruthveni, and then your Sonoran whip snake is Mascophus billinatus. They're just beautiful animals, and I might, if I end up getting mates for those, I'd likely probably alternate year to year on producing those once, like I said, once I get mates for those. But they're a little bit more niche, and I don't think that they're a species for everybody. I guess But on the Mascophus front, that's what I've got, and kind of what I'm wanting to do there. Naturalist first, and then maybe Ruthveni and Billinatus after that. But yeah, Ruthven.
Gotta
Sorry.
love the ring python in the middle of this picture.
Yeah, that's a little
And then
little strange there.
the mud snake. But yeah, no, these look neat. Yeah,
Yeah, now they're like olive green, sometimes a little blue tint
yeah,
to
that
them.
looks like
Beautiful ripping orange rust throat, white chins, and then they've got on their under ventrals, past their vent. You're gonna have like a nice pink kind of color. That's pretty
oh
cool.
yeah. Yeah, the
But
Snorns look
the
kind of similar, but a touch different too.
Yeah, you get a little bit more like blue and like yellow with those, depending on their locality. The female I have here, or the male, excuse me, Sonoran Whip I have is from Wickenburg, Arizona. So I'd like to get a locality mate on that one, and I've got somebody looking for me. So that's exciting, just to have people with their eyes open.
Oh yeah, these are cool. I know they're not Masticophus, but I remember every time we go to the Okanagan, we'd go and find the Western yellow belly racers, the Mormon.
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not sure the double part of that subspecies, but yeah, no, they're really cool. And actually, I guess in southern Alberta, they just barely come in the eastern yellow bellies. So it'd be cool to
Yeah,
maybe go down there into Saskatchewan and maybe try to find some of those too. Actually, I got to go out
for
to
sure.
help my buddy go pick up a truck in the middle of nowhere in Saskatchewan below Moose Jaw next week, and I was like, is it actually close? Because there's the smooth greens that come just up into Saskatchewan and then go over to Manitoba and Ontario, and I was like,
Okay.
I wonder if we're close to that and flip some of those, but no, I think their range is like just ends before wherever we're going, because it would be like cool to quickly stop and click something off the bucket list as well, but yeah, no. Yeah, it'd be cool to check out some of those because, like, yeah, you just drive south and it's just prairie and farms. So yeah, no, I love. They're always fun to find, and it's cool, like with the coluber, how they like the
Mhm.
babies are born with like all the pattern, and then it just switches, and it's neat. What
Yeah,
like they're like. So what are you? So you've bred some of the Masticophis right yet or no?
I've hatched stuff out
Oh,
before,
okay.
but I haven't had true like captive breeding here.
Oh, okay.
That goes for Coluber and the Mascophis. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but a lot of it's just lone animals for right now. So it's kind of tough,
Oh yeah.
to do that. So
Yeah. Actually,
but
with the on the Masticophis note, you could sell so many to Ashley because
yeah,
every time Robin posts the red coach whip, she gets like 400 messages, and then
yeah,
what is it? Like one of our friend groups is like, well, they'll always message being like, you got another red Masticophis, and then
yeah.
she'll like lose her shit because she's never getting those again, really. I do not have these animals anymore. This picture's from like 10 years ago.
Yeah. No, well, honestly, that photo is really what, kind of drew me to more of the Western species because I had just caught like a tan faced Western coach whip and was keeping it for a couple of years. And then, I'm like, holy crap, there's more of these beautiful things. So,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that really opened my eyes. But it's kind of cool how that all works out.
Yeah, seeing like Noah Fields videos, I always love just throwing his stuff on the TV because like
Yeah.
you can just like just sit and watch, and every episode's different. I love the West Texas ones because well, it's West Texas, right?
Yeah,
But
for sure.
and then yeah, like whenever he finds like the red coach whips or like even the other Masticophis, like even the Easterns are kind of neat. Like they're definitely not as pretty, but like they're kind of cool. Like with some of them with getting that melanistic kind of look, kind of
Yeah.
peeling through a
There's
little
so
bit.
much variation with it all. And they all hatch out tan no matter what the species is of a Mascophis there. Or at least on the flagellum front. All your coach whips really pretty much hatch out tan. They kind of develop their color and patterning as they age. Um, so that part's super cool too. I'm really interested to see what happens with these the head albinos because I've noticed some other people pairing some like tans and reds together and they'll end up with like a pink animal, or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that phenotype is expressed as they progress and age and all that, whether they're going to get banded more uniform color or whatnot. It's exciting.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're like even the tan ones are definitely nice. So is that like a like kind of like one of the telltale differences between Masticophis and Coluber is the juvenile kind of coloring or the neonate? Because the neonate Coluber obviously have like that totally different pattern, and they kind of switch over. While these guys, like you're saying, they're just born tan already, and they don't have any, or do they have like a pattern to them as well?
I haven't seen any of them that have a pattern
Okay.
as a hatchling, and I mean, maybe Pisceus, the red racers that you'll see out like in Arizona and California and a little bit up into Utah and stuff like that, Nevada. Those might have some sort of like collar type thing
Hmm.
going because they do have kind of like a distinction of like a brown head to a collar to a red body as an adult, red, orange, tan, whatever body. Um, I just haven't seen a hatchling Pisces yet, but hopefully that changes. I know Ryu's got a decent group of those, at least a pair of those. But yeah, but definitely so racers and coach whips, your racers have some patterning, kind of like a rat snake adjacent patterning would look, and then they go more kind of just uniform color. And I'll notice the heads are different as well. There's some literature, I don't know if it's still up to date or not, but somebody was lumping the Mascophis into Coluber there. And I don't really, believe that. I think their head shape is just enough for me, but I'm not an academic, I guess. You get more rounded, blunter heads with the Coluber, and then more elongated, little larger eyes on the Mascophis as well, and just kind of stockier head scales on the coach whips and whip snakes as well. So
Oh yeah, and probably
yeah,
some different scale counts and maybe even chromosome counts too, right?
oh for sure, for
So
sure,
that's where
yeah, and
it's
diet
all fun.
preferences as well. Yeah.
So with them, do you have like a game plan in your head for how to get them started, or like kind of probably going off how Ryu does it? But do you have like a game plan? Like, do you guys actually like get crickets and grasshoppers and stuff, or are you trying to get them onto
Yeah,
pinkies right away,
so
or what's the game plan with that?
for sure. So we've got a lot of different ideas we've thrown out. And we've got a little fun group chat for all of us Mascophus nerds called the Mascophus Mega Church. Kind of fun little gag name. But every time that I or whenever I do bring in a new animal, I'll offer it right off the bat, or I'll give it a couple days to settle in or whatnot. But by the time it needs to feed, the first thing I'm offering is a frozen thawed, uh, appropriate size rodent. Just I've had a lot of coach-ups just go ahead and take frozen thawed right out of the gate. That's not every animal, but you know, starting at that base level and then tweaking from there, I'm cool with. Worst case, I just have to try live. So I'll go kind of live from there. Maybe knock it down a prey size. I'm never going to give it like a live adult mouse, for like an adult snake. I'm always worried about, injuring the snake, or things like that. I don't want that to happen. So I might throw in like a hopper, maybe a fresh killed hopper or something like that. If they kind of turn their nose up at rodents, I move on to quail or chicks, depending on the size. And then I make my own scenting juices as well there. And if they don't take anything like that, um, I'll try a frozen thawed lizard. If they don't take a frozen thawed lizard, I'm doing what I call tease feeding, which I've posted a video on Instagram about it, and I think one on Facebook that you might have to dig for. But basically, I hold the snake in my hand, and I take my tongs with my mouse there, and I literally just like I'm not like hitting the snake with it, but I'm presenting it to the snake, presenting, and they'll get annoyed or something like that, and they're gonna strike it. If they grab it, that's great. If they don't, whatever. I just keep presenting it. I'm sitting here for like literally like an hour sometimes per animal, which is a lot, but it's worth it for me. And eventually they will take it and just suck it down, and it's fine. So that's the kind of last case that I got. I try not to assist feed because I don't want to damage anything on the inside of their mouth. But that kind of tease feeding is generally that works pretty well with most things here. I have done crickets with the coluber in the past there, but with some talking with some other folks and just kind of exhibiting like their fecal matter, it doesn't seem like they're benefiting enough to really have some good growth with just crickets. So I'll put in like maybe like 5 or 6 crickets in like a little critter keeper thing with a couple live pinkies, and a lot of times those racers they're not worried about a smell as much as just eating. So they'll go for whatever is the easiest to grab, and usually it's a pinky. They get it down. So
Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty
yes,
cool. And obviously, like wild insects probably have different, like a nutrient kind of breakdown
oh for sure,
than captive
yeah,
bred crickets, right? So that's probably where, like, maybe in the wild it works with the grasshoppers or whatever they're feeding on, or probably even caterpillars and
right.
stuff, maybe too. But yeah, no, it's and obviously, like, so our I know racers are, but are like I'm guessing Masticophis and whip snakes are also like pretty like they'll feed on other snakes a lot kind of thing too.
Yeah,
And I'm guessing that's a
yeah.
little bit of a worry when pairing them sometimes,
I
or not
mean,
really.
as long as they're well fed, I haven't had any cannibalism issues. In the moment and feeding, it can get a little hairy, so I've learned, um, but I'll move them into like separate bins, and feed them individually, So there's not me between one panel of glass trying to feed on both sides, that never works out. You get a snake out in the room or whatever. But yeah, no, I've kept Western coachwhips together and haven't had problems long term um, on like at least 2 years, at a time. And haven't had any issues on that front.
Nice. Did you kind of get that from how Montross does his waters and that? Well, they kind of seem to do better when they're kind of in pairs, or
No, I just I was trying to breed them, and just wanted to keep them together. And as a younger kid, I didn't really do any of the bromation or anything like that, so obviously didn't have luck with that. But yeah, no, I mean, if I can cohabitat, I generally lean towards that. But obviously, making sure it's a smart thing to do, and you're reading your natural history notes, you're observing your animals, because even even if it's not listed that they will eat snakes. It's just good to watch your animals and observe your individuals, within your group, things like that. So
Yeah, actually, I was just listening to Ari's recent show with is it Scott Flood? Yeah, I think yeah, he was talking about how this year he had like three female Bolins try to eat males on separate occasions. It's like, oh, well, that's fantastic.
yeah, yeah, for sure. That's a lot right there.
Yeah,
A lot of money.
like I wonder if Kush probably has had maybe the odd scrub python that hasn't been too happy with its mate either. But I knew it was like Apodora, we all know, right? But then when Cody Joe's had kind of a lot of success with his, like when they're wanting to breed, that's not really an issue either. So I guess it's
For
kind
sure.
of reading the room, and if they're not happy with each other, then maybe it's not the right time of year to pair them, kind of thing. But yeah, no,
For sure.
it's always fun to hear that. I remember, yeah, like boas are definitely bad for wanting to like just they just see movement, right? And Owen from MBR has definitely talked about his white lips too, where like they just see movement and they're like they go and just hit it, which happens to be their mate, kind of thing. You gotta watch out with those really food aggressive animals that may occasionally eat other snakes.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then yeah, with those you're keeping them most of those in 4x2 cages kind of thing together, or
Yeah.
yeah.
So for whip snakes, they generally tend to be more of like a crevice dweller in the wild, as far as like they'll tuck up in crevices and hide for the hottest parts of the day or overnight or whatnot. They'll come out and bask, periodically throughout the day and stuff, but they don't really seem to be utilizing as much space as other like your coach whips and things like that, or racers for that point. There, so I keep the whip snakes in more of like 4x2x2s, and then my adult coach whips that I've kept in the past 6x2x2s. Right now, I don't have any adult Western coach whips or Eastern coach whips. I've got a blue racer down here and a 6x2x2, which generally should be fine for pairs, in my opinion. There,
Oh yeah,
so
those are cool. Yeah, the blue racers are neat too. Like I think they're well in Canada. They're only in. I think the only place they're left is like Peely Island in like one tiny little
Mhm.
population because Southern Ontario is where a lot of the country is.
Yeah,
But yeah, yeah, no, those are neat. It's like cool to have like a bright like they're like a blue racer, right? Which is neat. I'm guessing.
yeah.
So they're from Michigan, where you can collect them, or are they from a different? Or you?
So you can collect them in Michigan, but the same laws apply where you can't buy, sell, or trade them. So that's a thing where people have gifted them to me in the past. I've got one female here now. I had a pair, but the male, he was collected and in captivity. He was collected as an adult. He was in captivity up there in Michigan for 8 years or something like that. And he came down to me and he had like this enlarged heart thing going on. So, um, I just kept him around as a pet. Didn't try and pair him up or anything like that. Just for the health of what I want to do here. Future generations of snakes. So yeah, unfortunately he passed last summer. But yeah, the female's going strong here. Had a great brumation, and I've got fingers crossed that maybe I can get a pairing. Uh,
Is
this year if my buddy comes through with a male,
oh
but we'll
yeah,
see what happens.
is your buddy what's his name? Is it?
I prefer
Oh okay,
not
yeah,
to mention
yeah, yeah,
his
yeah,
buddy.
no
Just
worries.
there's not anything like it's legal, right? But with particularly that snake, there's a lot of misinformation,
Hmm.
and I don't want to get like Ryu had some from somebody else, and like there was a whole like investigation checking on like
Oh, because
receipts and
they're
everything like that,
probably
because
illegal in some other like or protected in some other states, maybe or
yeah, they're protected in a couple other states,
ah
and
okay,
then people insinuated that person
got
who
them from
is
those states instead.
yeah,
Yeah.
that other person's a hobbyist and also a herper too. But there was a big concern that those animals had been bought, and there was like a big paper trail that they had to prove, stuff with. So,
Yeah.
just respectfully, I don't want to,
Oh yeah,
I
for
don't want to
sure.
have him be under investigation for whatever. But what we're doing is legal, and you're welcome to come look at my stuff. Whoever is
Yeah.
has issues with this, I'm an open book.
Yeah, for
So.
sure. Oh, are you writing a book on Masticophis and that? I feel like I heard that you were at one point.
Yeah, so I've that's kind of fallen to the wayside. It's something that I do want to do. I was originally working on it with someone else who I was a little bit too naive um, about. Like I was more trusting than I should have been with this general person. I sent him a really prized snake for a breeder loan. It was a beautiful red racer, the Pisces there. Actually, the one that's my Instagram icon there is that snake in particular. And I guess he fell in some hard times. Either sold the snake or it escaped. He claims it escaped, but there was some texts about him, discussing selling it to somebody in Europe who screenshotted stuff and sent it to me and was like, "Hey, what's going on?" So that dude's out of the picture, and he was the guy that was building up my range maps for the books and things like that. And the idea of the book is kind of like a complete sub-auc meets field guide. So there's like 13 different species of racers, or not racers, sorry, coach whips, and there's a ton of racer species as well. And so I wanted to dive into natural history first, photos from the field, observations, things like that, just to give people an idea of like, hey, this is what they're doing in the wild, and then go into my captive care and be like, this, based on what we just read, this is why we don't throw them in racks. I'm not hating on rack keeping. I'm just saying like racers and coach whips need to be kept like lizards for them really to really thrive in captivity there. So go into the captive husbandry, and then go into kind of like at the end of um, I don't remember if it was complete Subbuck or if it was that Craig Trumbauer snake hunting books or whatever
Yeah.
that he got, where there's some sort of like Herper field stories.
Oh
Like
yeah,
there's a
that
couple.
was Craig, I think.
Yeah,
Dusty might have had it. He did have some stories too at the end of his book, but yeah, no,
yeah,
Craig. Craig's all of his books were just Herper
yeah,
stories, which was like
for
which is
sure.
why I love his books. If I ever have
Yeah,
kids, those are going to be their bedtime books.
no, for sure.
Just
Yeah,
reading through Craig's.
yeah. So the goal is to kind of blend some of my favorite parts about my library that I have here, together into something that's like really informative for whoever else has some weird fascination to these awesome snakes. But I just kind of I got burnt out with that individual, and that just kind of put a sour taste in my mouth for the project. I do need to get back to it. But to really do it justice, it's gonna be a long process. Getting it where it needs to be. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
but
I
still a
feel
goal,
yeah.
just not a priority project right now.
Yeah, I definitely like. I even felt like at some point it'd be nice to write a book or of something. Yeah, I think at one point, like 5 6 years ago, when I was just getting into pine snakes, I was like, oh, there should be a book on pine snakes. And well, it's like good thing I never actually got into that too far because the right person was writing that book. So and
For sure.
now I have it right. So yeah, no, not that it wouldn't be like the worst thing to make more books on the same stuff. Like it'd be cool to maybe do like a I don't know, like some sort of North American rat snake book or something, or a
Yeah, yeah.
more like another like revised version of maybe the complete suboc, and
Hmm.
maybe change it a touch and go into some other things maybe, or maybe even go more into Western green rats and Baird's rats and like really into them kind of thing, and just make it like
For
a
sure.
bigger kind of Southwest rat snake book, like that would be neat.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
I just feel like I also feel kind of weird because like at the end of the day I'm just a guy, you know. I never claim to be an expert, what I'm doing, I just want to share and have an outlet to share, what I can so others can do well, with this species here. So um even podcasts, make me feel kind of weird, but I'm here, so
oh yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
No,
Yeah.
it takes a while to get used to it, and like I'm not even fully I get comfortable after a while, but like every time you do it, like you have a like you get a little anxious and stuff when you want to do it, but then as soon as you get into the flow, it's nice. And like the reason like why part of why I wanted to start the podcast is I wanted to like do I don't know something positive for herpetoculture, and I just
Yeah, for sure.
I love stories, right? Like I love hearing the stories. Like at some point I want to get Craig on, but he, I kind of want to let him do the other the other stuff. Like I guess he was on Colubrid and Colubroid and that. But yeah, no, it'd be like I really want to get him on at some point because remember that 3 hour episode that Smitty and that did with him.
Yeah.
That was like awesome. I remember like it was like, huh, I'm still working, just like
Hmm.
while I'm taping or
Yeah.
going through the house, just like I had that one on live, and then I probably re-listened to it a few times. That was a fantastic. I feel like every time he goes on now, like the first couple like NPRs were basically the same episode. I felt, and then as soon as he went on, what was it? Because he did, yeah, he did Smitty's, but that was later. And then he did Roy's. That was great. Roy and Phil
Yeah.
with him.
Hmm.
They pulled some different stuff out. Like it was like when I had Brian on and I was able to, I guess he's only done a couple podcasts. And I think, like, I'm sure you've listened to that Alterna one that he did with Eric and Owen, like, or well,
Right.
actually
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was Eric and Rob quite a few times. Like I've listened to that one, re-listened to it quite a few times over the years. Right, you get your favorite podcast episodes, and you just like, okay, well, it's probably the 30th time I've listened to this, but it's always good, right? Kind of
For
thing.
sure.
So yeah, no, it's always fun to get that stuff on, and like your episodes are always neat too because you're always kind of dabbling with the cool stuff. But yeah, no, like if you ever wanted to start a podcast, I'm sure that'd be interesting too. Like I would see you more doing almost like a maybe more education or natural history kind of thing. I don't know, but I feel like you could do it because you kind of you do those educational shows with scouting groups and stuff still, or
Yeah.
let's talk
Uh,
about that a little bit, like how like maybe talk about how like scouting has kind of helped like I'm not sure how to word that,
Kind of get
but like kind of helped you like
how it's
evolve in
impacted by.
herpetoculture or like
Yeah.
how
Yeah. Yeah.
like like how that helps you with it.
Yeah. I got it. Yeah. So, I guess really, I I wouldn't really be here, or keeping what I keep really without scouting. There's a scout camp that I spent like 8 summers staffing growing up out in Palo Pinto County, and that's where I first caught my first Western coach whip there, right outside the nature center, and it regurgitated a live like yearling Atrox, which was super cool. I until that moment there, I didn't realize they could handle eating venomous snakes, or be immune somewhat to that venom, which was a really cool observation, there. Kept that snake the whole summer, and it stayed with me for a couple of years, and now it's with my mentor. My mentor, his name is Jeff Peters, and he was a professional, like hired on scouter, and he kind of ran this. Well, he ran a program for the council, and there was this STEM center where we had all sorts of different activities for youth, and there was a reptile collection there, and like any good old school herper, he had locality information on everything. We did do some breeding of snakes there, and kind of he got me kind of on the right path there with the locality stuff, which is kind of what I try to do, still true to this day here. But it was a collection of every North American Lampropeltis and Pantherophis rat snakes and king snakes, milk snakes adjacent there, with the exception of the short-tailed king snake because we couldn't have that one. But we did have South Florida mole kings, which was awesome. And we
That's
didn't
really neat.
have.
You don't see those really
Yeah.
in the hobby at all.
Yeah, no, we had one male there, and that one ended up going on breeder loan to a guy in Florida who's got a decent group of them. So I'm really hoping that works out down the road there. But yeah, no, so kind of went on that front to pay for feeders and stuff like that. We would do these educational reptile shows for scout groups, schools, community centers, whatever. It was broken down into three different kind of groupings. There was uh, U.S. natives, and then we had a couple lizard stuff that we'd bring as well. There would be reptiles of Texas, just the whole state, which is massive, and there's so many different ecoregions and stuff. And then there was a what you might find in your backyard, where we had like DK's brown snakes, Texas brown tarantulas, Texas rat snakes, all that fun stuff. Um, it was a lot of fun. I definitely went down my ADHD, autism, whatever rabbit hole on everything. Just soaked it all in, and then like I said, I caught that coach whip, and just kind of been off the beaten path ever since. Within that collection that I was working with my mentor Jeff, we had a couple night snakes there, and that's just a nostalgic species for me. So that's why I have those to this day. There was some bull snakes and other fun stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I just kind of got bored of the kings and rats for a bit, and I'm slowly coming back to them with the Bairds. Thank you for that, and Subox. So yeah,
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's really neat. And yeah, no worries. Like that, yeah, like with that Barrett's, I was like, do I wait? Because I was really wanting to get like them from Smitty, and then I think he lost one of his pair, and he wasn't really breeding them. So I was like, and then I was like, well, I think you asked me about it, or maybe you asked me about the Subox. And yeah, though it was like, well, I know you're definitely going to be able to find some down there, a lot easier kind of thing,
yeah,
and pair it up because bred by Smitty, and it is a really nice looking animal. But like you can't
yeah, for sure. She's
Canada
doing great.
Canada's tough with some of that stuff where you might luck out that somebody else is kind of on your wavelength, but not. We're still stuck 10 years ago in ball python and bubba land and crested geckos and like even
Yeah, for
there's
sure.
less beardy breeders now, but man, it's ball pythons and crested geckos is still like the majority of shows, other than the few of us that'll actually bring a bunch of different stuff. So yeah, no, I was glad to get that down to you, and the Subox as well. I know you and Phil will do well with them, and then now I just need to. I got all three together right now. I'm hoping that female from Smitty might actually give me some good eggs finally for the third year trying. The first year she gave me a couple of good ones, and then I only hatched out one like really kinked baby from that one that lived. But last year she just gave me slugs, but then the one I got from Rob Nimmo, that one
Mm-hmm.
gave me the four perfect eggs, and then it just turned out that it was like a 1.3 kind of thing in that clutch. So it's like, well, I'll keep a pair, and then try to maybe find somebody. Like I wasn't really pushing because it was only a small handful of babies, right? It doesn't cost
Yeah,
that
for
much
sure.
to just keep them anyways. But I was glad I was able to get those down to you guys, and I think that's my kind of like my plan long term too, is to like that like kind of niche oddball colubrid stuff. Maybe if I can just send a box down, like even my friend Jaylyn, she breeds those oddball Asian rat snakes that aren't necessarily popular up
Mhm.
here either. Well, you guys love them down there, so it's kind of
Yeah,
worth it for us that like even if we have to cover a part of the fees or something at some point, like that's one animal in that box kind of thing, that's kind of or two that are kind of helping pay for stuff. So even if we can either wholesale or send it down to somebody who can distribute, like that's the better way to go for us in terms of earning back enough money to kind of make it worth like kind of paying for the food and that. Not like it's a very profitable thing, but it's nice to get
it's
get
nice to
them
break even when you
get them
can.
to
Yeah,
people that actually want them too, right? So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, no. So that's also why I picked up some house snakes because I know they're popular down there. Up here, they're they're around, but like my buddy breeds blue eyes, and he can barely get 400 Canadian for them. And
Oh, dang.
you guys are getting 800 American, which is like 400 Canadians, like five something, or no, 400 American would be five something US, but like it's like a 1.3 kind of
Yeah,
ratio. But yeah, no, it's yeah, it's the markets are so different. Even not that like we want to talk about markets that much, but like it was kind of fun going into more like the business side with Dave last week because I had Dave Levinson
mhm.
on. That was fun because he's a pretty funny guy in his own self. But yeah, no, I love talking about like these shows where we're getting into their nerdy stuff because that's really what gets me going. Like I love the books. I love the although I still need to get better at like consistently reading, right? Like you get that flow of like you need to just do it every day and like maybe try to read 10 pages instead of just kind of like, oh yeah, I'll read it and then you just put it
It just
down
sits on the shelf.
and don't
Yeah,
don't pick it up for 2 months kind of thing when you just need to like okay, every night before bed or when you're sitting on the couch you just need to read 10 pages, like just 10 pages just so you chip away at it kind of thing. And then then you might get luck out and get an afternoon where you're like, yeah, okay, I read like 80 pages or something and sit down for a couple hours and actually like
Yeah.
pound out a bit of the book. But yeah, you have like a decent sized book collection going now?
Yeah, most of it's so I I guess on Instagram I go by Naturalist Herps, and I try to be like as well rounded as I can with my environment and what's going on here. So yeah, I've got all sorts of plant books, bird books, reptile books. I'm definitely more into the reptiles, and more knowledgeable on that front there. But I don't really hardly know anything about our amphibians here, so I need to read that field guide a little bit more, and I really like edible or learning what I can find out about edible plants in the area, so I'm reading into that, and just try to have a better appreciation for the world around me.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure. That's always good. I know, like I feel like most of the reptile books, or well, not most, but some kind of include both amphibians and reptiles, especially in like the kind of the field guide ones. But yeah, I
yeah,
should probably get better at learning like the local plant fauna, even maybe some birding stuff, because I'm sure there's some funky birds out here. Although living in Vancouver, like that was kind of like the weird haven where you'd get some, or I think you would get some oddball stuff like occasionally you'd get like I think snowy owls would come, not like regularly, but you get those like
yeah, yeah.
once in a
The
blue
little
moon
blip in there, yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
events, right? Like I think at some point there was like a stellar sea eagle that made it all the way to Nova Scotia or something, and they're from like eastern Russia.
yeah,
It would make more
yeah. I
sense
remember
for
that.
them to randomly pop up in BC, but no, it made it all the way to probably was down in the US for a time too. Birds are weird,
Yeah,
right? Where they can kind of go wherever they want if they really want to.
for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Have you do you get out for a lot of herping and out in Texas? Like do you
Yeah.
have like areas you kind of prefer to go or kind of target?
Yeah, for sure. So I try to get out as much as I can. What's nice is I'm in the food service world, so I'm usually working um, like the weekends whenever everybody's out. So that gives me some weekday access, which is a little quieter, which I appreciate. I got a couple good local spots within like 2 hours of driving. I don't care about driving. Road trips are road trips, and I can just sit down and do it. Around me, there's a couple good spots for local stuff. There's another really good spot in East Texas that I like. That's it's like a 4.5 hour drive or something like that. So kind of you lock in, you drive down, you maybe camp, and then come back the next day. And then I love South Texas. South Texas is just incredible. The Brownsville area, that's like the Cameron County is the southmost portion of Texas. You kind of get some cool tropical esque, I guess, vibes down there. I've only been down there once, but I've got a couple productive areas, that I found, or friends kind of sent me some kind of discreet spots, which was nice. But I love it down there. I'd love to get down there more. It's just a 8 hour drive. But yeah, so typically more north central Texas is what I call it, the DFW Metroplex area, Dallas Fort Worth there. I love Brownsville, and then I've gone out to San Diego a couple times for the desert out there, and that's just a whole nother world out there. But yeah, I'd say probably locally I get out 2-3 times a month, so really can't beat it.
Yeah, no, that's nice. Yeah, that's part of why I kind of wanted to move out here. It's like, well, at least I'm 2 minutes from looking for bull and prairie rattlesnakes and scorpions and stuff in the summer. So that's it's always nice to be kind of in a herp area. Not that Vancouver wasn't great too, because then you got three
Yeah,
species of garters. Not that I guess we have three species here too, but three species of garters and tons of different salamanders, kind of thing, and rubber boas, and then you're 4 hours away from finding Norpax and
yeah.
good rubber bows and racers, and still never found any western skinks out there. Those would have been fun, but yeah,
Hmm,
yeah, no, there's tons of and Great Basin bull snake, Great Basin gophers. Those are always fun too. Yeah,
for sure. I'd say on the herping front, definitely the goals for this year are milk snakes. I'm kind of in a kind of a cool, kind of funky integrate area where you'll get like milk snakes that have like some gentilis, the Central Plains milk snake look. Louisiana milk snake look, kind of hybrid or integrate going on there, which is kind of neat. We're also at an integrate between the desert kings and speckled kings, and you get some funky patterning with that. And then another goal, I guess, is there's prairie kings around me that they've eluded me, and I'd like to see in my county, Tarrant County, I'd like to see a crayfish snake. I've seen a couple of those out further east, but they're a lot harder to come by near me. So
That's really cool. Those crayfish snakes are neat. But are you a closet prairie king snake lover too?
I would say I'm a Caligaster enthusiast.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, prairie kings, mole kings, particularly South Florida mole kings, just do it for me. But I'm a sucker for a dirt brown snake. So
Yeah, I remember seeing
yeah.
one at a pet store when I was like 10, and it just hasn't left my mind. Same as how I saw. I think the day I got my one of my sand boas for my first snake was the day I also saw a pine snake, like a full grown pine snake on some
Oh wow.
lady's shoulders at the reptile show when I picked up the sand boa, and it was those things just stick in your head. Same as the subox. Like I remember seeing pictures of subox in some sort of herp magazine or show
Mhm.
or something, and that just, those visuals just stick in your head, and they kind of just never leave you ever. Have you thought about maybe working with some locality Caligaster, like even just like because I know Yasser has some sort of, I think, a Kansas locality of them, but
Yeah,
obviously,
they're like. Go ahead, sorry.
or because I'm guessing they're on the list of being able to collect and sell and trade in Texas, or no?
Yeah, yeah. So generally in Texas, most species are. There's a white list that you can have up to 25 of, and that can be commercially traded. There's a black list that you're allowed to have six of, but you can't buy, sell, trade, or breed
Okay.
them. You just can collect and keep up to six individuals, alive or dead, which is kind of a weird, law there. And then there's a handful of protected species that you're not it's hands off for. Speckled racers, Brad's water snakes, I think the Chancho water snakes, and a couple that I'm missing here on the snake front, but
Oh yeah.
whatever. Um, anyway, go back to your question. Yeah, the Caligaster. I have like whenever I worked with my mentor in the more scouting realm, whenever I was a little younger, we had three males, and then privately outside of that, I had a pair that were pretty old and they had been in captivity for like 12 or 13 years after they were collected as adults from Louisiana, and they were that kind of like there's a kind of a jet black phenotype look to some of the more western parishes in Louisiana. That's super cool. But they never bred for me, and they had them for like 3 or 4 years, and they passed. They've been pretty old animals. So they're cool. I just think that I want to really focus on what I have here, and try and spend more effort either sourcing, stuff that I want to breed here, or just what I have here that I can breed. Really can't try and dial that in and focus on those passion projects on that front. Really, the only king snake that really that I think that I would want to keep or add within a reasonable amount of time would probably be the South Florida mole king snakes if those ever become available. And then I just love the Utah pyros as well, the Infrarelli. Those are beautiful snakes.
Oh yeah,
So
and we can get fresh
that's,
blood with those now too because Utah opened up to
yeah,
being able to legally obtain them from the wild, kind of thing.
right. Yeah, Russ Cormack's doing some pretty good work with those. I don't know if you know him or not, but he's a super cool dude. Lots of fun stuff on in his collection there.
That's cool. Yeah, no, he needs
So
to. I guess he should go on a podcast. I'm not sure if he's. I'm sure. Dr. J has probably tried to get him on, or has maybe thought about getting him on Reptile Fight
mhm,
Club because that would be a good one with him and Rob. I feel
yeah,
I think people sometimes underestimate Rob and Dr. J. Like that's like a when you think of it, that's kind of like a powerhouse like podcast duo right there. I'm guessing they probably don't get the same amount of views that Eric and Owen, even though they're consistently doing it at least. So like not that Eric and Owen obviously have had stuff kind of going on in their lives and they've produced like, I don't know, 700 episodes now, so
Yeah,
they can do it whenever they want. But it's nice to,
yeah, they,
I think Rob and Justin should hopefully be getting more of a following kind of thing, because they have great information kind of thing. They're both very smart guys, and they're both field herpers too. So I think it's good for guys like us that love that kind of like hobby part, but then also get that kind of natural history part of it as well. You know?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important to be a solid keeper and like understand the natural history part first. You don't have to keep it in a bioactive whatever, but understanding the ecology and um, of that animal. It's kind of funny hearing some misinformation at the expos, with some of the flipper tables and stuff. It's pretty ridiculous around here.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. There's
Anyway.
not too many flipper tables. Like I guess one of my buddies wouldn't be a flipper, but like there's a lot. There's like he's one of those guys that'll buy wholesale from other
Yeah,
breeders, because not all of us like to sell to the public, and it's a pain in the butt, right? So like those like flippers, I guess you could say. Well, they sometimes breed as well. Like there's the difference between the good guys and then the guys that just get them
for
straight from
sure.
Indonesia and pop them on the table out of the crate right away, and you're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
for
that's
sure. You can
fantastic.
tell.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Is there a? I know this is a podcast, but is there a what podcast do you like to listen to, kind of thing? I never really asked that question, but
Yeah. I really liked Project Herpeticulture when that was around. Obviously, Phil's still doing some stuff with it. I I consider Roy like a big mentor and kind of not just like keeping, but like life mentor too. He's a super cool, awesome, good vibe dude, and met him a couple times in person, and he's just super awesome dude. So I really supported them a lot. Love what they're doing. Um, Outside of that, obviously Colubrid and Colubroid Radio. I'm going to Colubrid Fest this year, so I'm excited for that. To meet people and give them a firm handshake, and say hey, thank you for what you do, that kind of stuff. Um, and then it's not herp related, but I'm a bartender in my professional life. So I really like the pre-batch podcast, which is just kind of getting more into the science behind cocktails and culture and stuff like that, which is fun for me, and I don't really have anything on the daily that I listen to, but when new stuff comes out from kind of those platforms, I'll always listen to it, and I off and on, listen to everything else. It's just it's a busy world, for everybody these days.
oh yeah.
But yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, that's neat. Yeah, I'm guessing with the like even the cocktail one, like they probably get into like a little bit of like why this started and the reasons why they're
yeah.
doing stuff, which is actually pretty neat when you think about it that way, right?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
No,
a lot of
I miss
changing trends over the years.
I miss Roy and Phil doing it. Like I freaking love how Phil just gets in the philosophy of things, and Roy too, right? Like he always had good input. Like they were just like fantastic together too, right? Because obviously I think they would both be fantastic by themselves as well. But like they were just like that combo. That I guess
Yeah,
they
power
did well
couple
though.
for sure.
They did 100 episodes. They did the 2 and a bit years kind of thing, and then obviously life happens kind of thing. But I'm
Yeah,
glad that's why we have that kind of archive now, that we can always go back and listen to all those fantastic shows they had that we'll all kind of remember. And you never know, maybe one day they'll both come back. I know I did reach out to Phil because I got a French Euro breeder that's kind of like the big Euro breeder up here in Canada, and I
hmm
wanted to kind of have him on there, to just because I know he's wanted her on. So, but he had to pass because he has another child coming in the next couple weeks, so he's going to
Oh
have
wow.
his hands full. So I don't think we're going to see
Yeah,
any more Project Herp for another next 6 months or so. But I know he'll probably be back at it because it's always fun to read his like inspirational kind of thoughts that he sometimes posts on his page too. But yeah, no,
for
he's
sure.
doing fantastic
Life is
stuff.
definitely life, and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
awesome. So yeah, and then so recently you got Telescopus. What kind of got you into Telescopus, and what What's that all about?
Yeah, so one of the species in Texas that I cannot legally keep is the northern cat-eyed snake. It's Leptoderia something. I should know
Oh
that because
yeah,
I talk about it
because
all the
they're
time, but I don't.
native to southern Texas, or no?
They're native to southern Texas. They're not, I would say they're not like incredibly rare. We're just, it's a kind of like an access type thing. We just don't see them because they're nocturnal, either, under bark or maybe underground or something like that. They seem to have a pretty decent range within south central Texas and down into Mexico. They have no problems in Mexico. But it's just the way the law reads right now, which is unfortunate, but I, you know, going to stay legal here and all that, of course. So another thing that I'm kind of interested in is convergent evolution, and particularly with species that I can't legally keep here. What is their counterpart in Europe, Asia, Africa, whatever it may be, and then is it something feasible that I can do? So these are pretty similar in their coloration and just general habits as well. They're kind of like they're pretty similar to lyre snakes as well. The trimorpha on there. Um, they're neat. The female's doing great. The male is a pain in the butt with feeding, off and on. Of course, they typically start. Well, I guess the person that I get them from, there's a breeder in Europe, and I bring them in through Ashley actually, and I'll be doing that again this year. Shout out Northern Lights Reptile Imports, 2 thumbs up there. But yeah, no, they're super cool. They hatch out super small. They can have like 18 to 20 eggs a clutch, and they can double clutch without putting a male with them for that second clutch. So I think once they're here and they're raised up doing well, I'm not going to have a problem. The female eats regularly rodents there, but they came in basically as thick around as a little thicker than a matchstick when they came in. So I was tailing them for basically, I don't know, maybe 2 months, tailing and then transitioned to mouse legs or hopper legs there. And now I've got the female on pinkies and the male is on frozen thawed anoles that have been in my freezer for like 6 months. So whatever's there is hopefully dead by now. But they don't seem to be too difficult. It's probably just this one individual for the male that's just maybe not, you know, built up the best to be like a super big example, I guess, or whatever. But the female's doing great, growing, and like a weed. Um, so yeah, I'm excited for the project. They used to come in as imports from Africa in like the '80s, I want to
Yeah,
say, early
I think they
'80s.
still come in
And
because I didn't. I think Phil has. Does Phil might even have a couple right now, maybe. But I'm guessing they're
yeah,
wild
Phil's
caught from
Mexican, yeah.
underground.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely come in from them. But mine are F2 out of Tanzania, which is cool to have some sort of locality information there and generational, multi generation. They're true captive bred, and I guess I would hope that they're hardier than the wild caught animals there. So the goal is to breed them, and hopefully, like, I'm not in it for the money, but it'd be nice to help out with some of the feeder costs here, um, on that front, along with the Bairds is kind of why I got into the Bairds and Subucks too. Outside of they're just pretty, but
Yeah,
help with
they're
some
a
of the feeder costs.
little more less on the stress. Like the sub ox, all
For sure.
four ate pretty quickly. I think I got one or two to take frozen right away, and the others are just live pinkies, and then you kind of do a live pinky and a frozen right beside it, and then sometimes you can.
Yeah.
But they all seem to drop feed. I find with the sub ox, they're more of a drop fed animal. You get a couple that'll take off tongs, but even that breeder female, like I have to just lay the adult mice down, and she'll grab them she'll grab them as soon as I leave the room, kind of thing.
For
Like
sure.
she'll come and sniff it and almost look like she's gonna bite it, but no, she won't bite it. But the ones from Smitty, they'll they'll probably bite your hand if you stick your hand right in there right away, kind of thing.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, they're nuts. I
Oh
think
yeah.
he told me that he was like, "Oh, the female is the worst." It's like, well, the male is the one that actually bit me once, but they're not too bad. They're awesome. I find like with the sub like they're just I just love the subocs. They just look so nice, like just pure locality. I wouldn't mind
Hmm.
getting another locality or two of them one day because they're just I just love them. Right, like the
Yeah.
as Brian told me, like I guess that Davis the Davis Mountain animals have that look to them where they just have that kind of orange kind of thing. So I wouldn't mind getting some other locales that maybe look a touch different would be kind of neat. Like even if it's not that much different, it's just neat to have some other localities. But yeah, back to
Yeah.
the telescopist. Who's kind of been coaching you through that on, or is this like all trial and error from yourself alone?
Pretty much trial and error for me here. The breeder sells them out of the egg, unfeeding, just because he's got so many, which is it works out great for me because I get them at a little more affordable price point there. I'll be bringing in with two other people here in the states. I'll be bringing in probably about 12 animals. So I want to keep 2.3 here. I think that'd be a good number to have a stable population within my collection here. And if I lose a female or if I lose a male, the project's not completely scrapped. So that'll be okay. Um, but they're great. Pretty much just keep them at ambient temps. Here, the warmest my room gets is like 82, I would say. Um, I don't provide any lighting for them. They're more of a nocturnal species. They kind of, it seems like from field observations on Naturalist, whenever I'm referencing those images, I'll see them in like kind of like sparse, not like woodland, but there's like a couple trees, grassland habitat outside of that, and then you'll see them a lot in like thatched roofs and like the little huts out there in the villages and stuff like that. So they're neat. They'll eat lizards, quail, rodents, all that. So they're just kind of a different looking rat snake, I guess, if you want to look at it like that. And I know they're hungry whenever they come out and they're hanging up on their branches, and looking at me with their big beady boiga adjacent eyes.
Oh yeah,
And just kind of coming home from work whenever I'm done with the restaurant world. It's nice to see something out doing its thing. Um,
oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Those guys are just so cool. Like that's kind of why Trimorphodon I've just always like kind of been in the back of my head. It's like, man, those things would be cool. Like I really want to find them, but it'd be cool to actually maybe get Trimorphodon one day because I guess I should double check because Alberta has weird, some like oddball like we can't keep Spilotes. We can't keep a couple Asian rat snake species like gonios are illegal for some reason.
Huh.
Diones, Russian rats, uh, black rat snakes. I think pale milks are illegal. It's like a weird random list, but then we can
Yeah.
keep false water cobras and phylodryas.
Yeah.
I can keep a
Huh.
Bolin's python and Cuban boas,
Yeah.
which are illegal in BC. You can't keep Bolin's or wall false waters or phylodryas in BC at all because I just banned like the genus for the phylodryas and the false waters. But yeah, no.
Yeah. I was talking to Ashley recently, actually, about Trimorphodon, the lyre snakes, and so eventually they'll make their way into Canada. I've got a young male that I'm raising up for a female that I've got here. It's not going to be a locality pairing, but maybe I can get out in the desert and get some locality matching animals for those. That'd be, I don't know if locality is really a thing up there that people are interested in Canada. I'm
No,
sure
I'm
there's
I'm interested in
individuals like you. Yeah, 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 for sure.
it.
Yeah, but it'd be really cool to be able to provide
Yeah,
some of that to Canada up there because there seems to be just like double digit number of us here in the states that really enjoy them.
yeah.
So
Well, if not Canada,
I don't
I'm
know
sure she can get them over to Europe too, where they'll probably be much appreciated. I bet.
for sure.
Yeah, no, those are neat. Those are cool. Yeah, I think they were allowed in BC, so yeah, no, they should be. They're probably fine. Like it's probably like a genus that hasn't actually done anything significant, so
Yeah.
they're neat. Because California, I'm guessing you can't collect them there, even though they're everywhere.
So
Or
you can collect native reptiles in
oh,
California. You
okay,
just can't make them commercially available. and you can collect up to two a year, I believe. If you're listening to this, don't quote me on that. Do your own research, please. Of course, look into the laws. If I remember correctly, with a California fishing license, you can collect up to two a year, or it's either two a year or have two in your possession. Um, and then they don't say anything about gifting, but I've been gifted stuff from California without issue. So yeah, I've got the Sonorans here. I'd like to keep a individual Texas lyre snake, which I can't breed those if I keep them here. They're on that blacklist where I
Yeah.
can keep up to six, but I can't buy, sell, trade, or breed them. And then I'd like to get some Californias back in my collection. That's another pair that I lost whenever I got my car issues. But those ended up with a good buddy that breeds them down here in Texas. So I'll
Oh,
probably
that's
either
cool.
get babies or
Yeah.
get some founder stock from out
Have
west.
they
We'll
been
see.
able to figure out how to get the babies started a little easier?
You're really just jamming pinkies down their mouth for the first month or so until they were like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to do this. Um, Nobody's really breeding lizards on a scale to where you can make that a regular feeder source. And also we probably uh, not advise feeding lizards to trimorphodon if you're trying to transition to the rodents, because it's kind of like crack, where if they know it's available, they're just gonna like only want to eat that. So if I come in, the Californias that I had that were wild caught, they were boom on rodents, super easy. Sonorans, I've been told, can be tougher. And my female that I have here was kind of off and on between live and frozen thawed, but that was my biggest issue, just you know not wanting to regularly take frozen thawed. But after this past formation, she's fine on frozen thawed. So there's no craziness, no kind of alternative tricks that you need to use on them,
Oh yeah.
in my experience at least. So
Awesome. Yeah. With the wait, am I so yeah, you got I'm just trying to think and make sure I'm hitting on all the good stuff that you got. Was there another snake? You worked with the telescopus, the whip snakes,
I
the
did
rats.
briefly keep platyceps,
Oh, okay.
the Dall's whip snakes.
Oh yeah.
Those are essentially just solid lizard feeders,
Hmm.
and just the volume of lizard and a knoll versus like a uh, one of those Italian wall lizards or whatever that they would eat in the wild. That didn't work out. I've got some rough green snakes here, night snakes, which we talked about a little bit.
Oh yeah, yeah. The
Uh,
Hypsiglina. Those are neat. I still never.
yeah,
We were trying to find them in the Okanagan because they like just go up into the South Okanagan, but still,
like that.
still no
Yeah,
luck. They're only on like one side of the the valley, I think, and then it's kind of tough. Like you don't, I'm not. It's definitely really tough to find them because they were only like discovered in like the 80s, and I think there's only been like 40 sightings of them.
yeah. And you got to flip them, and I mean, I guess you could find them out on the crawl, but I'm sure that's more difficult up there with. I don't know what your road systems look like in the
Yeah,
more
it's
rural
kind of like
areas.
we probably could. There's like one kind of park area that I think we were able to, but then a lot of it's also uh, kind of native reserve too. So it's kind of probably don't want
Yeah,
to walk around there and get in trouble kind of
for
thing
sure.
either. So it's kind of
Yeah,
tough. But there is like some roads maybe, but like it's kind of tough, right? But then like we find lots of
mhm.
other stuff like rubber boas are easy to find. Did you have rubber boas? I thought you did.
Yeah. I did have rubber boas. I just they were cool whenever I was doing the educational stuff, because that's like a super easy snake to just
Oh yeah.
put in a kid's hand, and be like, hey, here's your great introductory. Like, this is what a boa, it's not an air quote. They are a boa, but they're not like a, big constrictor or anything like that, but it was an approachable snake. I use the night snakes as well for educational events, and for like little kids, 3, 4, 5, it's a great first experience to have with a reptile there. The rubber boas were cool. They just, I don't know. It's kind of like you get like you've been dreaming about the species, you think it's super cool, you love seeing it in like in situ photos, stuff like that. You get it here and it just kind of like hangs out and doesn't really move in the cage, or whatever. So I don't say I got bored, but I got them to somebody that would appreciate them a little bit more, than I did. Um, which I think it's important to be an engaged keeper with what you keep, and that's why before I got my Gila monster, I spent 6 months with a guy that lives like literally less than 10 minutes from my house. He breeds them. So I got to spend 6 months deciding like, hey, is this something that like I can really do? Because it's a venomous lizard, and I'm not going to be able to like with the community that I live around. It's going to be difficult to rehome this if it's not something that is going to be engaging for me. So I wanted to really dive into the husbandry, see what the breeding is like, see what egg hatching is like, all that, and kind of make an informed decision. Um, Now, not everybody does that, and that's fine. I'm not saying everybody needs to, but I think it's important with some of the rarer, stuff there. And I did the same thing. Not for as long, but with the earless monitors, I went and there's a breeder that I found on Fauna who's 25 minutes from my house. So went and met him, shook his hand, learned everything that I could in two separate visits, and then made an informed decision. And I've got one here now. So
That's awesome. So
yeah.
what? So what
So
kind of? I know why I would kind of want them, but like, what was that whole? Like, what kind of got you started on the Borneos, and then realizing like this is something like you actually want to do? So like the price on them is definitely higher, but they're like a scaly salamander basically. But like, want to go into them a little bit and kind of talk about why you wanted to do them and what you're kind of like if you're maybe thinking about breeding them or just keeping them as like an awesome kind of pet too, which is just fine as well.
for sure, yeah. So we've got this one individual here, doing great, super happy lizard there. Originally, what enticed me to him was just like their like I hadn't like I'd gone pretty far in my herp kind of deep dives on what I'm keeping, and I got more into like coachwhips and stuff like that. And then just like out of nowhere, I saw this like um, some raffle in Florida for a group of three earless monitors, and I bought like a $20 ticket, and I had like never even seen them before, not even a photograph or whatever. And then I saw this raffle for three adults, which was insane, mind blowing, and then I just like, this was like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And then I did a bunch of research on like, or there's not as much research, I guess, available for these, but looking at what in situ photos were available, following this guy named Brian Mean, I think his name is. He's over in Europe. He's produced them a couple times, and he does these eco tours in Borneo and stuff like that. And he shows videos of like, hey, this is like the habitat we're finding them in, and they go find them, photograph them, all that. That was just super cool, And they're just like a super cool dragon. I love the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit and all that, And kind of jokingly calling this one Smog, just because it kind of looks like something so different, that I wouldn't even think that we'd be sharing a planet with, dragon esque or whatever. But yeah, so they're relatively newer to the herp world, herp community, I would say, on the captive side of things here. And there's the whole blue tree monitor debacle thing that happened, or I guess they're kind of work. I don't know where we're at really with the blue tree monitors in the U.S. with interstate commerce on those, but U.S. Fish and Wildlife loves to overreach and worry about things that aren't native species, which is frustrating for me, But scrolling through fauna like I do every day, saw these available on Fauna. I messaged the breeder. It was like, hey, these are a lot more affordable than what I normally see them for on Morph Market. And this dude's had repeated success, and he's within the state. So if I want to get them before they go on some sort of listing, I should probably do it sooner than later. So with the higher value animals, monetarily, I should say, not whatever. That's an odd term to use with an animal, I guess, but with the more expensive things, I usually try to just start with one, see if it's engaging and up my alley and what I'm something that I really want to have here in the collection, and that it's going to thrive well within my keeping experience, things like that. So I picked him up after of course, seeing the setups and things like that he uses, and they're here. So right now it's a pet for now. Um, Another kind of unique thing here in America, they're doing a no tax on tips situation for restaurant servers. and bartenders or whatever, if you get tipped out in food service, there's I'm probably not getting the verbiage right, but it's up to $25,000 untaxed or whatever. So I get a larger return on taxes. And anyway, that's I don't know why I'm trailing off, whatever. But anyway, so I got a sizable tax return. It worked out to where there were some animals available still from this breeder here in Texas, and I went ahead and bought one. There was a bit of a learning curve. They're not super difficult, I'd say, especially the way that he's keeping them. He's referencing or kind of modeling his keeping off of. I'm blanking on the guy's name, but there's a really productive breeder for
I
Lanthanotis
see.
in England, and he keeps a little bit more simple setup. Not like there's a lot of people like to trick out with like the bioactive stuff, and um, it can just be difficult for these guys to find their food in their enclosures or even find a mate. You know, if you're decking it out too much or you're having too many obstacles where a female can hide better from a male. You know, which it kind of sounds weird to say, but that's just how it is with breeding reptiles. You know. So it's definitely more of a simple setup. Um, we're using reverse osmosis water. If you use the tap water, or you might, I don't know if you're in the Lanthanotis Facebook group or not, but you might see people ask questions about what's this white stuff on my monitor's like nose and eyes. That's like minerals from the water that have dried on the surface of the lizard there. They kind of just sit in the water like an alligator with their eyes and nose up, just in like an ambush position there. So reverse osmosis water for you there. They need almond leaves to help with the tannins of the water, just to prevent. I don't know what the science is behind it, but they can get some sort of like lesions or stuff if they don't have the proper pH
Oh, okay. So they like they kind of like
within the
that
water there.
low acidic pH kind of water. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess so. The almond leaves help with that, and then just like two little hides in there. They're just like you just take a hammer to a little terracotta, thing like any other lizard keeper does, with about an inch or so or inch and a half depth of that water. I've got it on a heat pad set to the highest it'll go is 82, but it generally stays around like the 80-degree range, and that's what you're looking for, a water temp around 80 degrees with those. So not terribly difficult, I'd say, and they seem in with his setup, he seems to breed them pretty regularly, which is exciting, to know that that's being done near me, and under pretty achievable methods. We're not doing rocket surgery over here, to do it. So the only difficult thing with it is you can't. It's really difficult to sex them. They have to reach a certain like their adult size basically, and you can tell by their head shape. I believe it's the males that have like the bulkier jowls, kind of more like pit bull look to them there, and the females have more of a narrow, slender head shape there. But it's really tough unless they're like obviously a male here, obviously a female here. If they're kind of in that kind of like teenage year or whatever, it can really be tough to distinguish. So the goal is for as long as this no tax on tip thing is going in America here, I'll buy one a year. And, once I get like hey, this is most likely a pair, I might make a couple available, if I'm a little male heavy, it would be cool to breed them, but they're also cool just to have around. Watching them hunt, and eat it's pretty insane compared to everything else that I keep, so different. They just kind of shred the worms up. It's pretty entertaining to watch, I should say. He'll like alligator roll if I hold on to it on the tongs for a bit, which is pretty neat. Just tough to film to show other people, But I like him a lot, and for now it's just a pretty cool pet, to have around, which I'm fine with, honestly. So
Oh yeah, those are neat. They're cool. Yeah, they're on that like list of like once that like maybe one day I want a few of them because they're just like fun. Like because I love keeping. I got into breeding newts this year. Like I've had them for a couple of years, but this year they finally bred, and like I love that. Obviously, that's a bit different, but I'm kind of I'd enjoy fish keeping a little bit too in that, right? So like
Yeah, yeah.
an aquatic lizard like that is like that's right up my alley kind of thing. Yeah, no.
Yeah, and it's just so different from what I've kept. I mean, I haven't really been an aquatics guy ever. I worked at the zoo for a little bit. And we did uh, took care of a couple turtles there, but
Oh yeah.
nothing at home. So it's a new chapter. It's exciting there. So
Yeah, turtles
yeah.
are kind of on my wish list too. Like I just got a pair of Herman's tortoises, but I think one day I wouldn't mind a group of musk turtles, like whether they're just razorbacks or loggerheads. Like they're just neat. Like colonians are pretty cool kind of
Mhm.
thing. But yeah, yeah, no, there's always like as herpers that we are, right? There's always like a whole list of stuff that maybe one day kind of thing,
Sure.
which is a bit very big very big list for me. But yeah, I'm sure it is for you too. But it's the
Yeah.
stay,
Yeah.
but like you do obviously, and what I try to do is kind of stay within that. I need to be able to take care of everything like nice and easy. Like
Mhm.
now that I've moved where I moved, like I am trying to maybe do some more stuff on not like a full commercial scale, but like kind of help maybe make a little bit more money, but stuff that is gonna move, right? Like I got a couple Pac-Man frogs, and I'm gonna get some blue tongue skinks, but not I'm not gonna get 50 of them, but uh, but
Yeah.
try them out with like a couple pairs and kind of see where that goes. Like Pac-Mans will have 1,000 babies, so they'll you don't need too
That'll
many
be fun. Yeah.
to kind of make a
Yeah.
lot. But I have friends that can wholesale, and I can wholesale to the wholesalers, so you can
Nice.
that volume would be able to not have to be a burden for too long, kind of thing. Hopefully, is there any? Do you have
Um.
any like herbing stories that really stick out that you whether it was
Yeah. I
something
guess.
not
Yeah.
really reptile related or something that was like maybe we can kind of go off on something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So my first time to West Texas was my 21st birthday. That's how I working in food service. I don't really have the appeal to spend a lot of money on alcohol these days. So I wanted to just get back out in nature. It was my dad has never been herping, had never been herping, excuse me, until I was like, hey, you're my dad. You're going to come with me on my 21st birthday, and we're going to go in the mountains and look for snakes. And he's like, what the heck? But yeah, so we had this 16-hour cruise that we did. One of the days is pretty insane. We ended up going to Black Gap. So we our base, our hotel was in Alpine, and I fell in love with that town. If you have the pleasure, Alpine's a beautiful area, and the community's really nice as well. Herping's great, of course, out there. But we had kind of come across this area that looked pretty good, nice dirt road that's off the beaten path a bit, where there was some cover. It was just really hot during the day, so we didn't want to flip train tracks. In the heat. So anyway, we ended up going down to Black Gap. Did some cruising there. Met up with a another naturalist down there who is I don't say like an unhealthy addiction to Alterna, especially specifically Black Gaps. But he spends every night from March to about maybe October cruising Black Gap, which is insane. He's just trying to. I guess that's a difficult road to find them. So he's trying to broaden the genes from the animals that are in captivity. Get a little bit more new blood into that line. But he met us out there, and just a wealth of information. Trey Petty is his name there. Me and my buddy Aaron went out west and met up with him. Um, Super long night. We got there at about let's say 7:30 or so, and just kind of cruised in the late kind of afternoon. Hiked around in like this little creek bed that's off the side of the road there, um, and I was like, "Wow, that's a freaking huge banded gecko," and it was like 5 or 6 minutes out of the car, and he's like, "Holy shit, that's actually a reticulated gecko." I don't know if you know what those are, but
Oh
they're
yeah,
essentially like a leopard gecko, coleonyx. They're gigantic. I didn't realize the rarity of that animal, but just stepping out of the car, probably the second or third animal on that stretch of road is like one of the rarer ones to see, and that was a really cool high of the trip for me there. We proceeded to cruise until about 6:30 in the morning, which was just another day in the life for a herper. But then we were like, hey, it's cool enough. Let's go try and hit that flip spot back in Alpine. So we went up there, and then I flipped my first red phase Western coach whip. So reticulated gecko, two red phase Western coach whips. We got two on that road there, and then I flipped like seven night snakes as well, which was super cool. Uh, and going out there, I wanted to see a striped desert or a Texas striped whip snake, a Central Texas. Yeah, that's what it is. The red faced coach whip, and I wanted to see a night snake. That's all that I was really like. Those are the finds that I want to find, and we hit all of them within 24 hours, which was super cool out there. So yeah, that was I guess a memorable experience there. Within that, recently, within the last month and a half or so, found another flip site locally that essentially a tornado went through this storage unit, and there's just 10 scattered all over this field, probably about 30 different stacks. And it was an 11 coach whip day, which I never see them in numbers like that. That was insane. I obviously I got to photograph every single one and all that. I'm just covered in musk and bites and all that fun stuff. And there's some big giant Texas rat snakes and all that. We flipped a skunk too, but we were safe. It ran off. But fun parts there at that same area. There's a pond or a big lake there, and I swam out after a rhombifer. The diamondback water snakes. It was about as thick around as my wrist here, which is pretty wild. She's about to pop with some babies and stuff in the late summer there. Got back out. I'm glad my buddy was there up on the side of the lake there. But we whenever we got out and we were walking around a little bit more, it said don't swim here because there's alligators, down in the area. And I'm swimming through like duckweed. There's a photo of me like neck deep in duckweed, reaching out trying to grab this snake here, and of course the snake got off, but just me being dumb, I guess on that front there. But yeah, I don't really have like long, super long herp
Oh
trips,
yeah.
I guess, that I go on. They're more like rocket runs and stuff like that. Those are just some memorable animals. Um, I guess my first indigo in South Texas was pretty cool. I've got a video somewhere on my page where it's got like it was a windy day, and if you ever have the pleasure of going down there, it's definitely a must herp area. But there's so many birds of prey, and they're just like tearing up these monster 8 foot indigos. As the wind was flapping, you can see in the video like a flap of skin that had like healed underneath, but it's like still has the scales and stuff on it from like I guess a caracara or something that tried to pray to eat it back in the day or whatnot. But just a beast, 8 foot with a cut tail. I guess somebody went after it with a hoe or something. It's covered in ticks. It's disgusting, but just monster indigo. Um, yeah, no, those things are healthy respect for those guys.
Oh yeah.
They're troopers down there.
Yeah, they're
But
neat. Like
yeah.
it's cool that you can go to like a part like obviously Florida. They're pretty hard to find. Well,
Mhm.
the southeast with the eastern Cooperide kind of thing, but the Texas like honestly, if I were to keep indigos, I want Texas indigos because like they're just
Mhm.
I don't know. They're different, right? Like they have a little bit of pattern to them. Obviously, you can get some blacker ones or some ones with maybe a bit more red on them, but I don't know. There's just something about them that I really like, and it's cool that you see the videos of people going there where they find like 8, 10 in a day kind of thing. I'm sure sometimes more if they get really lucky.
Yeah.
And then there is some big atrox down there too, right? Or are atrox kind of a little harder to find in that little area
Dude,
down there?
H-Rocks down there in South Texas are beasts. They're definitely, built different. I've got a shed from one that's like as big around as my size 12 shoe, which is insane. Um, we didn't see a giant H-Rocks on that trip, but we were flipping an area, and there just happened to be that giant monster shed just in the grass laying there, and so like yoink, I'm gonna take that home. Little memento there, but definitely a healthy reminder that you watch where you step when you're walking through, you know, chest deep grass. Sometimes
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
it's
that's
yeah.
definitely fair.
Snake hook first. You gotta
Yeah.
mess around with it, but yeah, it's a whole. It's like you're walking through Jurassic Park down there. The Palm Sanctuary is on the other side of the border wall. Excuse me. It's still in America, but that was just that was insane. Yeah, we had 7 indigos in 3 days. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, that south part of Texas is neat, right? Like with the Drimobius even coming up, and then those cat eyes, and then
Mm-hmm.
is there vine snakes that make it up that part too, or no?
No, those are going to be in southern
Yeah,
Arizona.
yeah, yeah. They just like that
That's another,
little tiny bit.
yeah, another little pinnacle species or dream species that I want to have here at some point. But I've only got so much space.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Uh, and then yeah, with the lizards, you got the alligator lizards going. Are those kind of obviously those were like one of the kind of beginnings of you breeding, and you've kept them? Are those locality or no? Or like how? Yeah.
So they each, my male and female, both have locality information. They're captive bred from two different people, but they are different localities. So I don't really, I don't know. With the lizards, it's not as important to me. I guess with the locality stuff, I guess the Texas alligator lizards are definitely overlooked. I would say honestly, all Garanotis and Agaria, they're kind of southern, southwestern alligator lizards out there. They're all overshadowed by the more colorful Abronia, in Mexico. But the Texas alligator lizards get a pretty decent size. I would say what draws me most to them is just how they think. They're very they make very coordinated and thought out movements whenever they're hunting. Like if you see one go after a hornworm, it's gonna like slowly creep up and stalk it, and then it's gonna like raise its head up super high, look at the hornworm like this, figure out okay the little horn is on this side, so I'm gonna attack it from this side here, and kind of like chew on that and kind of muddle it up on this end, and then go and consume the thing there. It's just kind of cool seeing them like that. And there's a commercial grasshopper breeder that I buy from here in the
Oh
states,
yeah. Is that
and
Kai Fan, or is it somebody else, or is it's the other
yeah,
guy maybe? But like that's they
I
both do
bought
it.
from both Dragon Hoppers and Kai. I've bought from both of them, and I kind of just whoever's got stuff in stock, I will buy from
Oh,
that
doesn't
person at the
Kai
time.
live out your way now? Like he
Um,
lives in San Antonio. I think I
yeah,
noticed that
yeah,
on your.
he's in just north of San Antonio. Yeah, yeah. Seeing his operation was pretty cool. It's definitely something that if I had double the space in my reptile room, I would do that. They just you got to keep them like a lizard. They need UVB, they need heat, they need like a really weird, specific not too dry, not too humid to breed environment. So he's got like a dehydrator or a dehumidifier and a humidifier going on in the room to keep it at the proper. It's too much work for me really to want to do it here. But they're not crazy expensive. Depending no matter who you get them from. But they're a lot more. There's a lot more nutrients in them in comparison to the crickets there. And looking at their fecal, remnants, there's. It seems like they did digest them a little bit better for whatever reason. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's
Uh,
their diet
so
too
yeah,
that they're getting because I'm guessing they feed them a
it's
lot
more
of
natural.
yeah.
Yeah. The issue with the Texas alligator lizards, I guess, among people that do breed them, they they can get pretty fat pretty quick.
Oh, okay.
There, so feed them, 2 sometimes 3 times a week. Not like a daily feeder on those. But that's really the only note that I have on those, other than your usual lizard stuff,
Yeah.
UVB, overhead heating. I've got them in a 40 gallon for right now. I'm gonna eventually move them to like a 3x3x2
Oh, that'll be nice.
display. Then I'm gonna kind of deck out and do some universal rock stuff. I've kept them in bigger enclosures before. I just don't have those enclosures because they've kind of fallen apart over the years. and they'll use every bit of space that you give them. Their habitat in Central Texas is super cool. It's like the a lot of like in Austin, Barton Springs area, you get that whole like limestone um, kind of bluffs with a kind of woodland habitat, and just the amount of water going through that limestone, you get some really cool features in the rock there. And I'm trying to do something similar with how I'm keeping them here, and it's really cool. I like them, and they're kind of forgotten, I guess, on the captive side. So
Yeah.
there's like 3 or 4 people that I know that are really trying to breed them. So
Yeah, I
we'll
love
see.
I
We'll
love
see if
that
I
neat
can
stuff that
do
like
something. Yeah.
I'm sure it's fun when you actually get them right. You're like, it's an alligator lizard, but like
Yeah.
actually in BC, like you could find like you could almost find them like garter snakes in some spots where they're pretty common,
Oh
like
wow.
the northwestern alligator lizards, and they actually go pretty far up. Like I think they almost make it up to Alaska, in that like where you got like Prince Rupert and that. Like I think they almost, I could be thinking of the the Turi, Turika, the rough skin newts, and maybe some of the other chorus frogs and stuff that make it up there. But they're
Huh?
yeah, they make they and they're in the mountains too. Like I've been go 3 hours away or go up the Coke, which is the one of the main highways out of town, and you like it's up high elevation, and then you go walking on the trails on the old railway or something, and oh look, there's an alligator lizard right there. So like they're everywhere, and I'm guessing yours have eggs, but those guys actually have live babies, which makes sense because they're a little farther north.
Yeah, yeah. There's some of the Ilgaria that will lay eggs as well.
Okay,
They're kind of like in a weird like some subspecies do, some don't. It's
yeah,
just like kind of a
just
weird
like
kind of
horn
like
lizards.
intermediate intermediate little evolutionary change they're going through at the moment, which is super cool. Um, Another kind of fun, kind of interesting thing about these guys, Ryu did she bred them last year and did let the mom maternally incubate about half the clutch. And so that was a really cool experiment. She's got all those babies still in with the mom currently, and they're in a larger display, just kind of making notes. And they're going to do some sort of write up. Her and this guy named Harry Green, who's
Oh,
just kind
that's
of another
Harry Green.
herpster.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're doing a little write up on some of the parenting instincts, I guess, of Garanodus and the kind of social behaviors with keeping them in groups and stuff like that, which is just really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's that's the stuff I like to hear about. Like, well, it was really cool seeing what Ryu and Ari kind of do. So it's cool to see how they'll kind of progress with their collection. Like, I think they just moved, but yeah, no, it'll be cool to see kind of what they carry on doing with their personal collections and that.
Yeah, good people for
Oh
sure.
yeah, yeah. So I guess maybe we want to wrap it up that we're at the 2 hour mark. Maybe I'll actually keep it at 2 hours. Like I'm sure people don't listen when we have the. That's why actually last week me and Dave went on like an extra hour after Dominic went to bed. So I just split that one into like 2 hours and 20 minutes, and then I'll do the last like hour and a bit as like a separate show. I was like, I should probably just split this up, and people will actually listen to the whole thing. Then maybe. I
Yeah,
guess we'll
yeah.
see. All 5 people will listen to the whole thing. We'll, but
It's a good show.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Do you have anything else you want to kind of share or tell people, or maybe inspire people, kind of thing?
Um, I don't know. Just keep what you like, and don't worry about what other people have to say about it. Just do your thing, and if you like what I'm doing, you can find me at Naturalist Herps on uh, Instagram there, or my first and last name Connor Wardle on Facebook or YouTube. I do some little species highlights on YouTube. But yeah, just if you have any questions or whatever, reach out to me. I don't bite. I'm here to help. So
Awesome. I'll link that. I'll have all those links in the description for everything. And yeah, this one will be released next Saturday, and I think actually next week we got on. I think I got on Glenn Brooks, so that should be a fun one.
oh,
He's
cool.
a
Yeah, yeah.
I kind of like that guy. He's super positive. He's like kind of in the Trumbauer clan, but he's kind of on his own. But he just like he's positive. Keeps a bunch of cool different stuff, right? Like I don't know. I love the positive guys in the community. Like I'm sure you do too. Where or sometimes like the doom and gloom is like, well, if we're just keeping what we like and surrounding ourselves with positive people, and that's all you can do, right? But it's been
Yes,
fantastic to
sir.
have you on, Connor. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks.
it. I'm glad you came on. At least I'll finish off with the sponsor and how people can reach out with us. Uh, we are gladly sponsored by Cornell's World. Cornell's World is one of the leaders in reptile caging in North America. You can order custom PVC cages, reptile supplies, cleaning supplies on their website at cornellsworld.com. And you can follow them on social media, Cornell's World, or just go bug Greg. Also, check out WCRE, also run by Greg and Tyrone from, I guess, well, they did Scale together. So, yeah, they put that show on in Calgary and Medicine Hat. So, go pre book your tickets at wcre.ca. And we'll hopefully see you at some upcoming shows. Well, awesome. Thank you, Connor. It was fantastic talking with you. I'm glad you got my snakes and everything. And yeah, if you just want to hold tight just to make sure it uploads well, everybody, I hope everybody has a fantastic evening, and you can follow and subscribe on YouTube and Instagram, or yeah, I guess hit the like button, subscribe, kind of. I don't know. Let's see where we can get this podcast kind of thing. Leave reviews if you would like on your preferred platform. Although I'm not sure if I really see any comments on anything other than Spotify, but they're out there kind of thing. If you want to listen to shows live or before they come out the following week, just go check out the live section on YouTube. And yeah, it's just Reptile Rejects on Instagram and YouTube. Also, go follow Dom at Dom's Reptiles on Instagram, or Dominic. Uh, I'm not gonna say his last name. He always makes fun of me. I can't say it in French. It reads like Carbonu, but like that would be wrong. Wrong according to a fluent French speaker. So yeah, and you can follow me at Michael double underscore Gillen on Instagram, or on Facebook at Michael Gillen, although my name's hard to pull up sometimes. So if you follow somebody that follows me, you'll probably see my name pop up then. But yeah, hope everybody has a fantastic evening or day, wherever you may be, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.